Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the BBC. This BBC has nothing to do with Britain. This is the BBC, the Big Buccaneer channel, as in the Oceanside Pirates and Buccaneer Beach. Welcome to the BBC, the Oceanside station.
Coming to you from a car-sized drone hovering over Buccaneer Beach, this is the Oceanside station, the Big Buccaneer channel at www.osidebbc.com, and this is episode number 26. We're a half year old, January 29th, 2025. Today's episode, we're going to shorten it down a little bit. Your host had sort of a cataract surgery procedure, and we're still trying to navigate our way through reality here. But thank you for allowing us to have a sort of a shortened, abbreviated version today. Today, though, we have some big news. Did you know that ICE came to Oceanside and, in fact, told the city they're going to bust 3 people? That happened today in Oceanside. Also, the folks who live on Olive Drive in Oceanside, not Olive Drive in Vista, but if you keep going west, you're going to come to the Olive Drive in Oceanside. Well, they're mad as hell, and they said they're not going to take what's coming to them, but the Planning Commission had a different idea. We're going to hear about that. And also, something called Futsol, which is a short of soccer. Of course, all the kids nowadays want to play soccer. That's great. And there's something called Futsol, which is a sort of a shortened, they don't have a full field. They have just a court. And instead of like 11 guys on each side, they just have 5. And we have a brand new futsal court that opened on Oceanside. Later on, we're going to be going to the happy hour at the Lab Collective in downtown Oceanside. And our interview today is with Jerimiah De Pessa. He fought City Hall and he won. We're going to be speaking to him today, 3 years after his victory against the city of Oceanside. And it's a very heartwarming, feel-good story, trust me. And finally, we've got a meter reader segment, and we're not even going to tell you what it's about. You're going to have to listen till the end. It's kind of a big one, folks, but I'm not going to tell you what it is right now. You're going to have to listen. This is the Big Buccaneer channel, the Oceanside station. Now, here's the news. On Wednesday, January 29th, the city of Oceanside was notified that it was the target of 3 ICE raids. Thank you, President Trump. The U.S. Customs and Immigration Enforcement, or ICE, notified the city that it was going after 3 known criminals known to be in the city who were undocumented. ICE did say that they are only going after the undocumented criminals here in Oceanside. We'll see if that happens. The OPD, like most local law enforcement agencies, are not cooperating with ICE by giving them info on citizen status they may know about in advance. Over 20 residents of Olive Drive stood up before the Oceanside Planning Commission on Monday and said, "We do not want a 4-story, 199-unit apartment complex at the end of our street." The 7-member Planning Commission did not agree with them and instead approved the project unanimously. Some of the people who spoke, according to the Union Tribune, have lived on Olive Drive for 40 years. Olive Drive begins in Vista and ends near the intersection of College Boulevard and Oceanside Boulevard, right near the College Boulevard Sprinter Station. That's why city staff and the Sierra Club said this is a good project because it's so near mass transit and near major shopping areas. But the Olive Drive residents say the project is unsafe. There is only one way in and out to this new project, and that's Olive Drive. And if there is a fire or earthquake, residents say they're screwed. The Oceanside Fire Department and Oceanside Police Department, however, disagreed, and the project called Olive Park was given the green light by the Planning Commission. City staff says this is a 100% affordable project with 20% of the units reserved for low-income residents and the other 80% for moderate-income folks. It was not stated who will get to decide who gets selected to be tenants at Olive Park. It is expected that the Olive Park project will get appealed to the City Council, which will have the final say. Opponents just need 35 area residents to sign an appeal to get it before the City Council. And it's pretty clear they've got that amount. It is unclear what will happen then. Mayor Sanchez made it clear in a June council meeting that she did not want this project and agreed with the Olive Drive residents who say there will be just too much traffic on this street. The LA-based developer started by asking for 400 units, then he went down to 282 and finally settled on this 199-unit compromise. What the heck is futsal? Well, it's a sport you should know about, and it's come to Oceanside. You see, futsal is a soccer-like game played with a heavier ball. And instead of being played on a big, huge field with 20 or more players, it's played on a court, usually between 2 teams of 5 players on each team. It's for soccer players who maybe don't have the players or the space to play a regular soccer game. Oceanside, the city of Oceanside, used a federal grant to have a futsal court built at the Libby Recreation Center. It was unveiled Tuesday and is ready for local kids or adults to play futsal right now and right there at Libby Lake Recreation Center. The City of Oceanside Parks and Rec Director Manny Gonzalez says that groups have contacted the city asking if they can work out a deal with the city to run the futsal court. The city said, "Thank you, but no, we are keeping it for public use for free." You have to provide your own futsal ball, but you can buy them at any sporting goods store around town. The Libby Lake futsal court is open every day until the park closes at 8 p.m. Special thanks goes out to the U.S. Soccer Foundation and Musco Lighting for helping to make Oceanside's first futsal court a reality. Voted the best Indian restaurant by San Diego Magazine this year, Curry and More on Mission Avenue in downtown Oceanside is proof that A-list restaurants are right here in town. Stop by and say hello to owner-operator, chef, greeter, Obi, who actually won the 2020 edition of TV's Beat Bobby Flay. Curry and More makes everything from scratch, including such wonderful favorites as coconut chicken, lamb korma, chicken masala, and mango lassi. Curry and More lunch specials include your entree, naan bread, salad, rice, and lentils. Curry and More on the corner of Freeman and Mission. Open for lunch 7 days a week, 12 to 3, and then for dinner 4:30 to 9, except Sunday when they close at 8. Curry and More, an Oceanside treasure. This is the Big Buccaneer channel, the Oceanside station, and this is episode 26, January 29th, 2025. And with us is a special guest here. And when things go right, we like to talk about it. And they went right with this gentleman, Jerimiah De Pessa. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
All right. And, sir, we first met like 3 years ago when I did a story in the Reader, and you can look it up. You live on Bennett Road, however you want to say it, in the Valley. Last week we talked about the Medleaf, which is going to be a marijuana distributor to be opened up sort of on San Luis Rey Road, which is in the Valley, not too far from you.
Yeah.
And you live in a very cool area because it's sort of to the, I don't know what that would be, to the west or to the south of you is the Mission Road that goes up the incline there.
Yes. And
you're sort of nestled in a sort of a cool little part of Oceanside that's sort of on the slope of the San Luis Rey Valley, kind of.
Yeah.
All right.
Correct.
All right. And so when I met you 3 years ago, you live on Bennett Road, near the there's an ice plant. They make ice in Oceanside, and it used to be called something else. What you know what the name of it is now?
Is it Palomar Ice? No, it's not Palomar.
It's Arctic, I think.
Arctic
ice.
Yes.
And so they have a lot of water runoff, and the water runoff goes into this cement culvert, which sort of runs along the road there.
And as well as the fire department has a lot of runoff from running their hoses too.
Oh, right. So the fire department, which is right not far from you,
right there.
They have on Jones Road, they have their training center. That's where they scale up and they put out fires and they train people there.
It's a cool training center, man.
Yeah,
they got it built up, man. They light that thing on fire, throw couches in there or whatever in there, and afraid of burning. They fight it pretty cool.
Okay, I bet your kid likes it.
It's great.
So anyway, we spoke, and what was happening is that in that culvert where all this water goes from the fire department and from the Arctic Ice factory, it grows weeds.
Yeah.
And there's weeds sprouting up, and what does Oceanside do? They need to look after it. So what they do is they throw Roundup on it.
Yes.
Roundup is caused, there's lawsuits people are just continuing it, and it's really bad news. And of course, we've all heard about the drastic decrease in bee population, and you put two and two together. Explain, if you could, what you found out and what you came up with.
Yeah, it basically murders the bees. It's bad for it. I mean, we have a problem with all the insects now. Like I think for years, everyone thought the insects were going to take over the earth, but they're all dying out. All the pollinators are dying out, and it's all that Roundup is 90% of it. I guarantee you.
All right. So you had a beehives at your house, outside of your house.
Yes.
And what was happening 3 years ago when we spoke and when we did the article?
Well, I have around 40 beehives in my house, and at the time, and I came out of my house with my kids, and I don't know if we were going to school or we were going surfing. I don't know. I don't remember. But they have a big truck with a giant tank in the back, and the guy's got a pump in there, obviously, and he's spraying it, like blasting it into the weeds, into the culvert. And I know that goes right to the ocean. I surf too. It's not just my bees, and it's just across the street from my house, 20 feet away from my window. So I'm like, what are you spraying in there? And turns out it's Roundup. I'm like, you can't spray here. I made a scene. I got in front of his truck. I'm like, no. He's like, I'll call the cops. You're going to call the cops. All right. So I got my phone out. I'm going to film you. You're spraying Roundup. I don't like this. It's the only thing I got. And I'm going to defend myself and defend my community and my bees, my livelihood. So I filmed the whole thing, and I turned it on to Surfrider. I turned it on to the mayor's office, to everyone I could, to you. And it was awesome because you gave me an interview and got me to, say my plight. My bees are going to die, and this is going to affect my kids, maybe, everyone downstream. It was terrible.
Okay, but it was impacting your bees, right?
Oh, yeah.
Tell
Directly impacted my bees.
What happened?
I'm down to about 4 hives right now. I was up to about 40 right then. Strong hives. I was up to about 70, but see, I have a relationship with Quentin, the guy, Quentin Alexander. He's got a bee sanctuary down the street. He does live bee removals. And when he didn't have the time of night, he brings the bees over to my house. I put them in my boxes and I take care of them, make sure they have a place to live, because even though you do a live bee removal and you take care, it's still traumatic for them. They lose their home. They lose a lot of their comb, a lot of their resources. They get packed into a box and they're brought somewhere different. Mm-hmm. So it's good to have a sanctuary. So I volunteer for that because I do deal with honey. So it's a win-win for both of us. And the bees, he's truly doing live bee removal. A lot of people do live bee removals. Don't do that. They take them somewhere and they dump them or something.
That's horrible.
You don't see bee sanctuaries out. A lot of these people, like, you want to go bee sanctuary where people are going to take care of bees, you call it Quentin Alexander, hivesavers.com. He'll take care of the bees. He'll make sure, at least if they go to my house, if he doesn't have time for them.
Okay, hold on. Let's not gloss over this. The name, in case anybody does have a bee invasion that they don't want.
Hivesavers.com.
Hivesavers.com. Yeah. And the gentleman's name is Quentin
Alexander.
Yeah. Okay.
He's a good guy. He takes care. He really has a passion for them. He actually went out to places and taken bumblebees and removed them from places, digging 30, 40 feet to get the hive and bring them to his little sanctuary over there to take care of them, because they're endangered. We don't even find them anymore, the bumblebees. The big black and yellow ones, the funny-looking ones, yeah, they're done. I see them in NorCal when I go up to NorCal, but they're not around here anymore.
All right. I thought it was going to be uplifting. It's not so uplifting, I guess. But the fact is, I thought a year or two ago we spoke, and you said that the city stopped doing Roundup.
They did.
So let me point out here that you can fight City Hall.
Yes.
Jerimiah made a stink, and the stink resonated with everybody, I think, including the city, and they stopped using Roundup in that culvert. Now, what happened to the weeds?
A lot of things happen. You know what? The weeds are overgrown. There's some weeds in there. There's some cattails and everything. But what's actually really nice, because for years I was getting attacked by tons and tons of mosquitoes. My family were getting lit up. And then they have vector control, spraying more poison in there. But I think vector control uses a bacterium now.
Oh.
That's not so bad, so that's pretty cool. But anyways, I was getting annihilated by mosquitoes. So since they quit spraying that stuff, the weeds have grown, the water gets kind of filtered, and I have a pond there. I was able to put mosquito fish in there, Now, since there's no Roundup, the mosquito fish live, and there's no mosquitoes. It's a balance.
Okay.
There's a natural balance there.
And weeds are growing in the
Weeds
culvert.
are growing, and it's healthy.
And the sky didn't fall down. Okay.
Yeah.
Weeds aren't the biggest problem that we should worry
No,
about.
they're good because they filter the water. As the water goes through the roots, their natural cycle. It's like a natural little creek river run now. And my mosquito fish are living. There's frogs, tadpoles in there. There's animals. It's rejuvenated. It's a life instead of death. When they sprayed them there, it was bald. The mosquitoes were the only thing that lived because after a couple months, they can handle whatever toxins, I think. They're stronger. But the fish and the frogs weren't living, so everything's better now.
Okay, so happy story ending as far as the city of Oceanside spraying Roundup in the culverts near your house. But you're saying that your bees are still dying off.
Yes. I had a really bad collapse the last year or so.
Really?
And I think it's because people are still using Roundup around the neighborhoods. They're still using it.
And now, you don't have bumblebees?
I don't have. I see bumblebees at my mom's house right up the street here.
Yeah.
In Fire Mountain.
Yeah. And
I was really happy to see them. They liked her trumpet plant and some other plants she had they really liked, and I was really happy to see that. Good, but they're on the edge of extinction down here. Some other in NorCal, there's a few. In Central California, they seem to be hanging out better. But down here, and again, that's because they're rural areas. There's space between, so people aren't spraying a bunch of crap, and they're kind of. I think they're more environmentally minded up north, I think, than down here.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. But nevertheless, you did speak up. You stood up, and you got,
I got big change.
You had big change.
I got big change.
Nevertheless, now, can people still buy Roundup at Home Depot?
You still can buy Roundup right at Home Depot. I can't believe it.
I really thought they were going to discontinue it.
What's that chemical? Glyphosate? I can't even ever pronounce it. I think it's a forever chemical, and it's bad now. I guess they spray it on our oats like oatmeal to dry it.
Great.
So you think oatmeal's all healthy, but you eat a bunch of oatmeal and you're just sinking yourself with glyphosates. And that stuff's it's pure cancer.
I've never heard of that before.
Yes, it's in. They say it's in everyone now. When they test people, it's in everyone just because it's in our water. It's a forever chemical.
All right, this is the big Buccaneer channel, www.osidebbc. We're speaking with Jerimiah De Pessa. And sir, you live in the kind of a nice area. It's kind of semi-rural,
Yeah.
And but it's sort of right next to the industrial park there. And we talk about the MedLeaf store that's going to open. Do you have a problem with that, by the way?
No.
Okay.
I'm pro marijuana. That's fine.
Okay, fair
Yeah,
enough.
I think a lot of people have PTSD here and around here from soldiers, and I think I'd rather have the kids smoking weed or the younger group population than drinking a bunch of alcohol or doing drugs. I think it's a healthy thing. I don't have a problem with marijuana.
All right. Now, but down in in your neck of the woods, oh my goodness, quite a new problem has been popping up.
Big time. The whole river valley, all around the corner from me. Around the corner from me, it's mainly people in their vehicles and trailers and stuff like that, but it's pretty heavy drug use, prostitution, murders.
Now, wait a minute. Okay, so we're talking about the homeless that have congregated living in their cars or in their vehicles.
Or tents.
Okay, so you're saying that there is a plethora of drug use, prostitution, and murders?
Big time. Big time. I don't hear about the murders very often, but I know friends that have friends that or family that live down there in the valley, and there's been some murders going down there. A couple years ago, there was a few women that got murdered, and then I know of a few drug addicts got murdered this summer.
Really?
They were left on the side of the road for a week where people found them.
No. Okay, that did not get reported in any media.
That happened right at 76 Bennett Road, right there in those bushes, 100 feet back. There was two bodies laying there for a week before cops found them.
Yikes. All right. So that seems a little odd considering there's so many, you talk about public safety. Well, there's police and there's fire. The fire is there big time. And it just seems interesting that why do you think the police aren't rousting them or doing, or what would you like to have done? I guess let me put it that way. What do you think the city should be doing about all the homelessness in your
Well, I feel
area?
bad. I feel bad. I mean, the taxes are sky high. Living expenses, the inflation's gone up 23% this last few years. Like, people are having a tough time. They end up in their cars. And then they end up doing drugs, or they were doing drugs and that's how they're there. But there's a problem. There's a lot of people out there that have nowhere to go, or if they do, they choose not to go there, because I think a lot of people just want to be out doing their thing, doing drugs and running around doing crazy things. And then the River Valley is a whole different story. I've been down there. There's needles everywhere. There's people camped out all over.
You're talking about the actual San Luis Rey
Yes.
river bed.
Yes, because I take the dogs and the kids down there, and
Oh, you
we
do?
cruise around and go fishing sometimes, things like that. It's bad. There's a lot of people camping down. There's permanent addresses down there that they've given to people. They have little homes built, and they've been there for years. There's only a few of those I've seen, but there's always and to the Oside Police benefit, I do see them down there a lot, and they do have the ones that aren't just like cops. They're the ones, the community service members that go and talk to these people and try and give them help. They're down there a lot. They clean up my corner where the auto parts, pick your part place is, right next to my house, like a block. They're there a lot. They go through there once a week and kick them out, clean up the trash, and they offer help. The Oceanside Police is doing a lot. And I talk to Oceanside Police, and what they want me to do is anytime there's people out there congregating in large numbers or in the street, to call them, make a complaint, because they can't do anything without a complaint. There's laws set up in California to where they really can't rouse these people unless there's a complaint.
So do you make complaints?
I have been making some complaints. I don't do it that often, but when I can't get by and they're in the middle of the street and they're waving at me and maybe calling me names, yeah, that's when I get on. And I'm like, all right, you guys need a bail.
Okay. Well, there you go. That's quite the development. And, the downtown Oceanside sector, they hired this security company.
Yeah.
And they, by and large, seem to have gotten rid of a lot of the homeless downtown. Where do they go? Well, guess what? They're in your doorstep. Sort of.
Right to the River Valley.
Wow.
And it doesn't help too, but we got Brother Benno's there.
Okay.
Brother Benno's is a major source for food, and I get it. They got food, they got help, and then they also get their counseling and with their phones where they need their medical taken care of there. And so I understand that, but yeah, that's the draw. They have Brother Benno's, they're getting meals and they're getting taken care of, and then they have bushes, just jump in, sleep, spend the night. And then I think right around me though, Bennett is really bad, because I think there's people really moving a lot of drugs there and a lot of prostitution going on right there.
Really?
For sure.
You mean outside in front of Brother Benno's?
No, by my place, right by Pick Apart.
Oh.
Pick Your Part. Like there's a lot, and probably down by Benno's, but right there by Pick Apart, yeah, those guys, I see guys they're moving some meth. There's meth getting moved around there, and prostitution, for sure.
So if you could, Jeremiah, tell me, what are you mentioned the car parts yard.
Pick your part right there?
Pick Your Part.
Yeah.
Is Ecology still down there?
I don't know if it's called. Pick Apart is what I think it's what it's
is
called.
That,
I'm
is
not
that
sure.
the only one that's down there now?
On the other side of the river, there's another parts thing and recycling. I don't know what that one's called.
Okay. But you live, the one near you is called?
I think it's Pick Your Parts.
Pick Your Parts.
I mean, I don't go there, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called.
All right. And otherwise, so how is the general industrial park doing down there? I mean, is it pretty busy? A lot of stuff going on?
Yeah, there's a lot. There's got a lot of new construction right across the street from that place. They're put a new parking lot in, and right across the street from my house, they just put a fence up. I think they sold a lot there, and they're planning on putting something in. I haven't paid attention to what they're putting in there. Right next to Ice Factory. But it's got to be a big building, or at least a big building and a big parking lot. It's got to be an acre, at least 3/4. I don't know. It's a pretty big spot.
And so it's still, except for the homeless, it's kind of a nice area there, huh?
I like it. I only have a couple neighbors,
Right.
We know each other, and
Right.
we're spread apart. It's pretty cool.
All right. Now, you surf with your kids. You have a daughter and a son.
Yes.
And they all surf, right?
Yeah.
All right. And what have you noticed? You talk about runoff.
Yeah.
And have you noticed any generalities about water quality where you surf?
Yeah, the water quality's gone down for years. Just getting worse and worse.
Really?
We actually have right now like a bunch of beaches closed. And this is the weird thing, because I was talking to Caroline Barona. She helped me raise a lot of awareness about that. Caroline Barona is, like I call her, like a local den mother. She helps run the high school, the junior high school contest for the kids, the WSA, a lot of surfing programs for the kids she runs. She's a sweet woman. She helped me when that whole first thing happened. I don't know if that's how we got in.
It could have been. It could have been.
Yes. I think probably was from one of her friends that introduced us. But yeah, so she told me that from South Jetty to North Jetty at the harbor now is closed right now, but the river mouth isn't closed. So she said, I don't think the river mouth has a problem, but yet they can't figure out where the bacteria is on the beach between the other two jetties. They don't even know where the bacteria is coming from.
Wow.
It's kind of weird. But yeah, we've had a lot of beach closings last few years. I mean, every time it rains, it's bad. And then if we get a really bad rain and then the water gets warm, we end up having those really bad red tides.
So, and man, sometimes the harbor, boy, that's a smelly.
The red tides, yeah. Remember a
Wow.
couple years ago, it was during Corona, the
Right.
whole the lagoons in Carlsbad, couldn't even drive past them it was like rotten eggs.
Right.
I think that necessarily is more industrial runoff and agricultural runoff, mainly because it's high phosphate, so it creates those blooms, I believe.
Right.
So
Well-
it's not the same as bacteria, which we're experiencing right now. And then you see the problem at the border right now, Imperial Beach. That's
Of course.
just a disaster.
It is a mess. It is just such a mess. Boy, I tell you, California is it's quite a challenge, isn't it?
We have a large population of people.
Yeah.
We have a very expensive tax burden on us. So yeah, it makes things tough. And then the high concentration of people, and especially these river valleys and stuff, and the homeless, that just makes the problems just way worse.
Well, Jerimiah De Pessa, thanks for recounting the story from 3 years ago when you stood up to Oceanside and you won in your own small little battle there, and it was great. And it showed that you can stand up to City Hall and get stuff done. Give us again the name of Quentin Alexander's company.
Hivesavers.com.
Hivesavers.com. And he is local.
Yeah, he's right here.
And he'll help you get rid of your bees and in a nice.
And make sure they're not discarded. He'll take care of them. And I appreciate the voice. I really do. It was great to have that taken care of. I don't need Roundup anywhere near my house or none of us need it in society.
There you go. All right. Well, don't use Roundup, but do call Quentin Alexander if you need to get rid of some bees that you don't want in your house.
If people really want to kill their weeds, it's vinegar, salt, water, with a little bit of dish soap.
Vinegar,
Kills them right away.
salt, water, dish soap, and it will not denude the landscape.
It's perfect. It won't. It just goes away fine.
All right. Jerimiah De Pessa, thank you very much for joining us on the Big Buccaneer channel.
Thank you, Ken.
All right.
Delicious.
I like it too. Yes, I do like it.
Delicious.
It's time for happy hour. That time on the Big Buccaneer channel when we highlight an Oceanside eatery or night spot that features food or drink specials during happy hour or any time they choose. Indicative of Oceanside's onward, upward trajectory if I can only say it, trajectory, is the Lab Collective in downtown. Its happy hour times are Monday through Friday. Now, from opening at 11 a.m. until 3, the Lab Collective has 2 specialty drinks for $5. It's an old-fashioned or a margarita. Apparently, the old-fashioned is what everybody loves at the Lab Collective. And then from 3 to 6 p.m. every afternoon, the Lab Collective has $2 off its cocktails, which I must say are normally priced at $15. But they're only $13 during this 3-hour period, Monday through Friday, including the Hibiscus Rita and an Up Late. It's a cold brew martini. So you get everything you need. You get the alcohol and the caffeine. The lunch specials, I must say, at the Lab Collective are wonderful. And they're only $10, and they include BLT, chicken Caesar wraps, and many other good things. That's at the Lab Collective, and they are at 201 North Cleveland in Oceanside.
Delicious!
Oh, have some more. Get the waiter and bring it. Put on the paper hat. Get out the lamp. I even like the cork.
Now it's time for the Oceanside Meter Reader, the segment where we gift a local person, place, or phenomenon on the degree of wonderfulness it has or its worthlessness, with a rating from K Magnifique down to nuclear dumpster fire. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the time has come. We're told that it might be time for the City Council to finally make a decision on what to do with the building that it owns right there as you're coming into town, sort of right next to the In-N-Out building that the city owns at the 900 block of North Coast Highway. There's 2 buildings there. One is occupied by the Chamber of Commerce, and the other is occupied by the Welcome Center, which is a state-mandated area where tourists can come and hang out and find out about Oceanside. Well, the part that's owned by the Chamber of Commerce has been inhabited by the Chamber of Commerce for 20 years. Now, the problem here is that the Chamber signed a deal with the city 20 years ago when it used to perform all these duties for the city, community events and promoting tourism. And the Chamber of Commerce has since receded and it's shrunk. It's changed its scope, let's just say. And now a lot of those duties are now handled by Main Street, which handles a lot of public events, and Visit Oceanside, which very adaptly handles a lot of the tourism activities. So what is the Chamber there for anyway? Well, apparently it's there to be a political entity. They have a PAC. It's an entity which collects money and gives out money to political candidates that it likes, presumably that are going to vote on the side of the Chamber to have its free rent. Because for the last 20 years, the Chamber of Commerce has been the only chamber in the county that's been getting free rent. So not only has it been getting free rent, it's also been collecting money from developers that say they want to build something in the city of Oceanside. They collect the money from the developers, and then they go in front of the council and in front of the city and say, boy, we sure like this development. And why do they say that? Well, it's probably because they just got a big donation from that developer. And that's how business has been done for 20 years. The Chamber has gotten free rent. It hasn't been doing the job it was originally agreed to do with the city in its lease 20 years ago. So they don't do the work anymore. They still get the free rent. They're the only chamber that gets free rent, the only chamber that does political activities like it does giving to political candidates. And guess what? Its lease is up for renewal this year. And we feel deeply that the time has come, and it will come very soon, for the city council to say, no, you're not getting any more free rent. You're not going to be the only chamber in the county that gets free rent. You're not going to be the only chamber in the county that gets free rent and does political activities. You, Mr. Oceanside Chamber of Commerce, are going to have to either pay your own way at fair market rent at that 900 block of North Coast Highway or move somewhere else. And we trust that that time is nigh. We hope that you stay tuned, as hopefully very soon we're going to be able to be giving you news about how we're glad they're finally going to be paying their own rent and not getting a free in-kind donation from a city council that may have benefited from their endorsements in the past. For that, we give a preemptive meter reader award, a gift, to the Oceanside City Council, which we presume will now do the right thing. We give them preemptively the best possible Oceanside meter reader ranking. It's K Magnifique. It's a rare treat to the Oceanside City Council with regards to the relationship with the so-called Chamber of Commerce. It's an Oceanside treasure. K Magnifique.
C'est magnifique. But when one day your loved one drifts away,
That wraps it for another edition of the Big Buccaneer Channel. This is the Oceanside Station at www.osidebbc.com. Thank you very much to Jerimiah De Pessa, who lives in the valley there, in Oceanside, San Luis Rey Valley, and to our audio engineer, the one, the only, Von Ramirez. We're celebrating with very cheap white wine here the fact that the Oceanside channel, the Big Buccaneer channel, is a half-year old. And until next week, this is Ken Treadway saying, thank you, Oceanside.